Now, in one case, we reached a settlement with one person who owned property, and the agreement was we swapped the property with him.
Is that okay with everybody? I mean, please keep asking your questions, let's get this over with.
No, we don't think it's fair, but what can we do about it? It's a done deal, nobody told us
I'm not
about
gonna know
it.
what your settlement's gonna be, you know what mine is.
No, I have no idea what it is.
No, we
No,
don't
we have no idea what it is.
That's it,
What?
that's my settlement, I swapped.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, Talisha,
Yeah,
we all trying to make a settlement.
well,
We
that's
all
what I'm
trying to
saying,
get
and I will.
what we feel is, what we feel we can live with and it is fair.
And that's
You
what I
went from
did.
owning a $60,000 or $70,000 piece of property to living in a $250,000 house.
That already
So that,
changed something.
so
No.
how's that working for us? It's not.
Well, I think it is, because first of all, Showing Texas Brian is not trying to get everybody
Really?
out.
No,
like
we never, it wasn't even your
said.
property to begin with. It's
Well,
swapped
you got
out.
it wrong.
Really?
Did you ever come ask me?
I didn't have to.
Why not?
You
Did you
didn't
wanna
live
know
here.
too?
You did not live
Did
here.
you wanna know if that was my property or not? All you had to do was come ask me.
Nope, didn't have to.
It
No,
really
but
doesn't
you
matter.
didn't wanna know. But the point
I mean, it
is,
was a title
if they're
to your
trying
name.
to
We
get
all
everybody
saw the title.
if they were
Jesus
trying to get
Christ.
everybody out, they would not have let me stay. I wasn't giving my property up. That's the deal I offered to them. You know, I'm not giving my property up. I'm not leaving. You know, they did what was best for them. They did what was best for me. You
Well,
know,
we
I'm
all
happy
wish we
with
could
it.
make that deal.
Mhm.
Well,
Get 3 times what our property's worth.
well, maybe that means you'll get 3 times more. You know, you always
Well-
look at it as a favorable
Let
thing.
me just say that we know there are some of you that want to and plan on staying.
Mhm.
And we're open to discussing with you or your lawyers what kind of agreement we need to reach. We've had some of those discussions with at least one of you. And we currently have the papers being reviewed by the insurance company lawyers. And unfortunately, we can't get the insurance company to find, we've got 6 different insurance company lawyers involved, and it's like pulling teeth to get them to work on it. But we're open to having discussions with anybody that wants to stay to settle your claims too. So that's where, we're at. So I think y'all might be waiting on how the first one turns out, and it may be a model to go wide with the others. It may not, I don't know. So that's, we know there's, a group of you that want to stay and plan on staying.
But we want to
And-
stay as is, not with the restrictions, with everything as it is, not a neighborhood that we can't live in anymore, that we're not happy in. That's 2 totally different things.
And we'll just have to see if we can reach an agreement with you that's something that is acceptable to you. And if we can't, we can't, but we'll try.
And one of the things I told them is, please don't let me go through with this deal if you're not gonna let all these other people that are trying to stay. I do not want to be back here by myself. And they assured me that they're doing everything they can to let whoever wants to stay.
Well, only the future will tell.
I guess what upsets me is probably nothing to do with Texas Brian is we keep hearing just for the restrictions and the vet wells and everything that's been going on. It's like, first thing comes up is, well, we can do it because it's an emergency situation and everything is null and void as far as restriction, whatever. But then they're gonna allow people to move in. So it's like, you can move in, but yet your restrictions and whatever else is out the window because it's under an emergency situation, but you're gonna let residents move into an emergency situation that never were, no offense, living here before.
Actually, I was living here. I've been living here for 8 years.
She lived in a trailer right here and rented from us.
I mean,
And she lived
y'all all
here.
know me. I don't know why y'all insisted on saying that I have not been living here.
I'm just saying, you wasn't a permanent resident here. is what I'm
I
saying.
have been a permanent resident for 8 years. I mean, I traveled a lot, I was gone 6-9 months out of state of the year, but
And I
I came
just
home
said it
every
was no
single.
sense to you, I'm just trying to figure out why you letting people, you were living here, but you weren't living here when you made this deal, is what I'm trying to say, right?
I was evacuated, but no, I stayed almost a
Exactly.
year.
You were evacuated, but they let you move back in a different place. No offense, I'm just
It's
I'm just trying to say, it's like. the
We
parish-
all trying to figure
John
it out.
Boudreaux
We feeling
is-
our way
I
as
keep
we
get- I
go.
keep getting it thrown in my face by John Boudreaux. It's an emergency situation, that's right. And we, you know, no, you can't do this, we can do this, we can do that, but then you
Well, I
let people
guess
move
I
out.
look at
the-
it like.
Let me just address
Let me
it.
just-
Y'all couldn't get
Right.
Danny to cut his grass, cause
I
y'all
look
couldn't
at it
do
like-
that.
It would make him come-
Situation.
Me coming back is no different than people that never left or people that did leave and come back. Why is my situation any different? I mean, they're letting people still live here, they have throughout the entire time. So why is that different than me leaving and coming back? I left only because the Borks sold the property I was renting from. You know, they were taking the buyout, I had to leave because of that, or I would have never left. I've made that very clear from the beginning. I didn't want to leave, I want to come back as soon as I can. And I was, the whole time I was gone, trying to find somewhere to come back and even rent while I was gone. And I just feel like as long as they let anybody stay, they can't tell somebody else they can't come back. It's either all or none.
But I'll address the mandatory evacuation again. The mandatory evacuation says that there's an imminent risk, and if you choose to stay or come in, that you have taken that risk upon yourself. It's clear in state law, revised statute 29-721. So that still stands. It is a public street. Anyone coming in and living here is assuming the risk if they do not abide by the mandatory evacuation. The other question about covenants restriction, that is not, covenants restrictions is a private individual subdivision issue. The parish doesn't regulate covenants restrictions. That's typically done through something set up when a subdivision is developed. They set up a committee or the owner may be the chairman, but covenants restrictions are not anything that the parish is gonna regulate.
But does the parish abide by them, and can we still abide by them even though we're under this mandatory evacuation?
You can abide by them. Understand that there's a lot of cases in covenants restriction, because I also do subdivisions for the parish, where the covenants restriction is less restrictive than the parish ordinance. The parish ordinance in subdividing property is the precedence, that's the ordinance, so that has to be abided by. You cannot set up covenants restrictions with less restrictions what the parish already does. So in that case, when a covenants restriction is less, the parish ordinance takes precedence over the covenants restriction, and those cases have come up before. Side setbacks.
me when I built my house.
Side setbacks, the
Wasn't a
covenants
big problem.
restriction says 5 feet from the property line, the parish ordinance says 8. So the parish ordinance is what takes precedence. Now, sometimes the parish will do a variance, but still the ordinance is in place, and that is to be abide by.
But what about just the simpleness of keeping your grass cut, keeping the appearance of your house orderly, neat?
That's in the covenants restriction.
So that would be the
No,
neighborhood?
the grass, there is an ordinance for grass, 12 inches, if someone would allow that grass to grow over 12 inches. There's a process though.
Oh, yeah.
You have to get a complaint, that owner has to be sent notice, there's a certain timeline that has to go by before a contract has been brought in. So you have to understand that there are laws and processes, you just can't just go do things. You
I
have
know,
to
John, but
follow
I
all
thought
of
that
those.
was asked at one time, if we could get something to make him cut his grass, and we're told.
We have an ordinance in the parish,
And-
it is a gray area, that it says, mandatory cut your grass over 12 minutes. It doesn't say if you're mandatory evacuated. That's a gray area for us. I never sent Danny a letter. I called him several times and helped him cut it. But we kind of falling back on something that's gone. I think y'all losing your objective here.
I don't.
Y'all are accusing us of
I'm not
restrictions and everything.
accusing you
No, the
of
parish, when you say the
anything.
parish, you're saying me.
I know,
Or John,
I wanna
or
live
whoever.
on this street and I
And
want
we
it to
try-
look just as nice as
I
it does
understand.
now. And in, not today, not tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years from
I
now.
agree.
I don't
The
wanna
problem
live in
is,
a
when they
junkyard.
bought it, now they assume, or the insurance company, they assume that this was residential property, so they have to maintain it.
Exactly.
So if it turned green, they still gotta cut it. If somebody lives in it, they still gotta cut it. I mean, the issues here are when are we be able to lift the mandatory evacuation? Don't y'all think that'd be questions to ask Texas Brian? Like, when the CPT is gonna start again? When we're gonna know exactly how much gas been extracted from the aquifer? If it's being recharged, why aren't we pursuing the source?
And that's the
Why
other
can't we do
elephant
that?
in the room,
We asked the
because Dr. Hecox just said less than a week ago, that the gas is still coming in.
Recharge it.
So
Yeah,
how,
that's a question.
how are we getting
There's
all
so
these
many
low,
freaking
low,
questions.
If you'd like to ask Texas Brian that
Yeah.
very question that Dr. Hecox answered, we'll be happy to give you our opinion.
okay.
And it's consistent with what we've said all along. There's no indication of massive volume of recharge. However, there could still be some recharge. But when you look at the sum of all the data, when you look at these depletion curves, when you look at declining pressures, when you look at ORW wells that we've produced that have gone dormant and now won't produce anything, those are indicators that lead us to believe that there's not a significant amount of recharge going on. It's not to say that there's not some, and I think that there have been occasions where the seismicity will pick up, things will get kind of active, and it kind of stirs things up, and it might release some gas that's stuck to sediment. So there may be little flurries where we see a little uptick, but there's an overwhelming body of evidence that leads us to conclude there's not recharge taking place. We're confident we're going to get this thing done, and we're confident that your property, your desire to live the way you used to, is going to be restored. That's
So,
why we want people to stay in their homes. We
Well,
want to
I'm
settle. We
glad
want-
you have confidence because we sure don't.
and I understand that, okay? I understand it. We're the evil company from Texas that ruined your lives, right? Go ahead and say it.
Pretty much.
That's how most of you feel, but you know what? I don't believe that, and I think in time,
Well, I'm glad you don't.
I think in
believe it.
time, you're gonna be grateful that you stayed here, and you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, these folks behaved responsibly, they did everything they could, and this was just a slow process. You can't fix something like this overnight.
Oh, I know.